was the incoming president, having been given a mandate by the people of Ghana to lead this great nation of us. He and I both understood on that day, as I'm sure we are today, that it is the people of Ghana that we are elected to serve. Somehow, it seems fitting that it is with Nana Akufo-Addo that I twice shared this stage and this unique historical distinction, because Nana Akufo-Addo and I began our national political careers in Parliament in the same year, 1996. He has always greeted me with warmth, a firm handshake and a smile, and he is perhaps the only person in my life who has persistently chosen to call me Johnny. While we belong to opposing political parties, we shared a sense of mutual respect. In those early days, we probably could not have imagined that destiny would bring us to the leadership of our respective parties, and that we would have to face off 3 separate times as we each vied for the highest office of the land. Nana asked this to be our final meeting under these circumstances, and as I look back on the journey we have traveled together, 2 much younger men who entered Parliament together with a full head of black hair, and you with the same bald head and round eyeglasses, I have to say that you have, without exception, been a worthy opponent. I extend my warmest wishes to His Excellency, the former Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia. It was a grueling campaign, and we gave it our all. Your sportsmanship in making an early concession eased tensions and contributed to the early conclusion of the electoral contest. I wish you all the best in your endeavors. My brothers and sisters, the world in which Ghana exists today, as I begin this presidency, is not the same world in which we have lived under other presidencies. There are tensions and conflicts that have not previously existed between nations. These tensions and conflicts place pressure on alliances to decide where we will support. There's a seismic shift happening within the system of global economic dominance. Whereas the G7 nations, United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan once provided the highest percentage of the world's GDP, over the last decade, that number has been steadily dropping. However, the combined total of the GDP of the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, UAE, their GDP has been consistently increasing. In 2023, for instance, the G7's combined total of world GDP was 30%. But by 2029, that number is predicted to drop to 27%. In 2023, the BRICS percentage of world GDP was 37.3%. And so what does this mean to us in Ghana? What could it mean to our economy? Where do we fit in this geopolitical maelstrom? Technology such as artificial intelligence has taken us to new heights, opening up the potential for national, financial, and personal security issues that we are not yet able to imagine. One example is the use of misinformation and algorithm manipulations on social media platforms to sway a particular group's sentiments towards or away from something. Now more than ever before, we need to strengthen our ties with our neighbors to ensure that we're working together to keep our sub-region safe. We stand in solidarity and work in alliance with all our neighbors in the sub-region. Recognizing the history of our borders, we also acknowledge that on the other side of our country's borders are our family members. They may be Ivorians, they may be Togolese, They may be Burkinabes, they may be Nigerians or Malians, but they are also Akans, they are Kassinas, they are Gwans, they are Ewes, they are Nzemes, they are Hauses, they are Moshis and Gurmes. Because we are all part of one another, one big family. With the increase of the climate crisis, and as the waters grow warmer, melting the Arctic ice and permafrost, there's a greater likelihood for viruses that have been frozen and thought to be extinct for decades, perhaps even centuries, to begin to spread and create another global pandemic. The changing climate conditions, increased population density in urban areas, and mass international travel are enabling existing viruses to spread and mutate at a faster and faster rate than they did before. This is a serious challenge. Let us not forget the toll that the past epidemics of viruses like Ebola, COVID, and Mpox have taken on the families and communities and medical infrastructure in several of our neighboring countries and in the sub-region. Let us also not forget how swiftly and completely the COVID pandemic brought the entire world to a screeching halt. My government will be working diligently to strengthen our public health systems while monitoring the global health situation so that when, and not if, but when the next pandemic or epidemic occurs, the loss of lives in Ghana will be minimal. The larger world exists around us and to some extent within us. While we cannot and should never use it as an excuse to stray from the direct and immediate needs of Ghana for the well-being of our citizens, we must also bear in mind that the affairs of the world, if we care to shape, lessen, avoid, or even at the other end of things, maximize the effect they have on us. My brothers and sisters, barely a month ago, we held historic elections that have caused dramatic shifts in our political landscape. I feel greatly honored that you, my compatriots, considered me worthy of receiving such an unprecedented and overwhelming mandate to steer the affairs of our beloved nation at this critical time in our history.